welcome to my channel. As you can see today we've got a bit of a different background because I'm currently in Tokyo, but today I have for you a makeup tutorial and it's a celebrity inspired once again, and it's actually a collaboration video that I'm doing with Mirjana. I will link her channel below. Her channel is amazing. She does lots of makeup tutorials and it's a similar kind of beauty and fashion channel to mine, so I will link it below. She's also doing a look, a Natalie Portman. This is more of an evening look and she's doing more of a day look, so please do check her video out. I will link it on the screen now as well. But yeah, without further ado, I want to get started. It's a look inspired by the Dior Rouge campaign that Natalie Portman did. I'm going to just put in a photo on the screen right now. And it's a super glamorous red lip classic look, perfect for any evenings out or actually even for daytime because the eyes are quite light. It's got a little bit of a smoky eye going on with a very thin liner and a beautiful glamorous red lip. So I really loved how Natalie Portman looked in this campaign, so I'm super excited to recreate the look. I hope you enjoy this video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please subscribe by hitting the button below and also the little bell right next to it so that you get a notification every time I upload. And without further ado, let's get straight into the tutorial. Okay, so to kickstart everything off, I'm going to go in with foundation, and I'm using my favorite combo, my Dior BB Cream and the YSL Touche Éclat foundation in B40. And Natalie had a very sort of natural dewy skin look, so this sort of gives me the perfect coverage. It's my perfect match to my skin shade, and I'm just blending this in with fingers and then going in with a damp beauty blender, adding a little more product where I need a bit more coverage, but mostly just blending everything in so that it looks very seamless and very natural, because we want the skin to look kind of dewy and natural. And then to correct my under eye darkness, which is absolutely crazy because I filmed this while I was out in Tokyo and I was super jet lagged, I'm using this corrector from YSL. It's in their Touche Éclat format, but it's in a sort of more salmony color. And I'm using this where I have any pigmentation around my nose, my mouth, and especially underneath my eyes, taking it all the way into the actual lid because I have a lot of darkness there as well. And I'm just blending this in with fingers, and as you can see, it's already brightened my eyes so much. Then to conceal, I'm going in with a Clé de Peau concealer, and I'm using this for any blemishes and also underneath my eyes because I have a lot of darkness, but I'm trying to use as little product as possible and blending it in really well with this Shuramura brush just because she didn't have a very concealer heavy look, so I want to keep it as light as possible. I'm blending it in with fingers and then I'll go in with a beauty blender later, but this is just to kind of warm up the product a little bit. I'm then going to go in with my NARS Creamy Concealer Highlighter, and I'm going to highlight the bridge of my nose, mostly concentrating on the kind of tip of my nose and making it a bit wider on the top just to balance out the shape. I'm also using this underneath my eyes in a usual triangle shape and also around my lips to lift them up and around my chin and also around my forehead, so the usual spots. And I'm trying to keep this as light as possible because, like I said, Natalie Portman had very natural looking skin, but I'm just highlighting to make my features look a little bit more defined because she has quite defined features and very angular shape to her face, which I don't, so I'm trying to mimic that by using a bit of highlighter and contour. I'm blending this out with fingers as usual to warm the product up, and then I'm going to go in with a damp beauty blender just to finish blending everything out and making it look really seamless. Now that my face finally looks human again, I'm going to go in with cream contour, and I'm using a lighter one than I do usually, and it's the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Beautiful Bronze, and this is a very cool toned brand, but it's a bit lighter than what I use normally, and I'm using this in the usual hot spots, so around the perimeters of my face, my jawline, underneath my cheekbones, my chin and my nose. And I'm then blending it out initially with this Real Techniques brush, and this again is all just to define my features and make it look a little bit more angular. And then I'm going to go in with a beauty blender again and just blend everything out, just bouncing it off my face. And I'm going to apply a little bit more contour around my nose, and I'm going to take it all the way almost into the crease of my eye, just because that area is quite shaded for Natalie. It's very defined, so I just wanted to mimic that with this contour. And then I'm just going to finish blending everything out to make sure everything looks nice and natural. Then I'm going in with this Maybelline highlighter or concealer, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just using this around the areas where I contoured, so above and below, just to make sure that everything is nice and blended in, because the contour looked a little bit dark, but also to further define the contour just so that it looks very, very angular without it looking sort of fake, like there's a lot of makeup. To blend everything out, I'm using my beauty blender once again, and as you can see now, everything's looking pretty natural. I'm then going to go in and powder and where I've highlighted, and I'm using my Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, but I'm using very, very little on this brush and just sort of pressing it into my T-zone and underneath my eyes so that it looks very natural. Natalie was wearing very little powder, so I want to keep it as nice and natural as possible. And then I'm going to go in with this by Terry Imperless Wall to Pearl powder, which is a little kind of luminescent and radiant, and I'm going to use this to set the rest of my makeup. Then for eyeshadow, I'm using the Instant Look in a palette by Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm using the Smoke shade, which is a very sort of cool taupey brown, and I'm using this all over my lid and well into the crease of my eye. And I'm using this flat brush by Urban Decay, and I'm using this because it actually has a little bit of fluff to it, so you can blend in quite well. I'm also using the same color underneath my lower lash line and just smoking it all out quite nicely. Then I'm going to go in with this fluffy brush by Sigma in the E100. I'm using the darker shade in the Sophisticate palette by Charlotte Tilbury, which is sort of a brownish greyish tone, and I'm using this on my crease first with the E100 brush, and then taking it in with this brush by number 7, which is a fluffy brush but a little more tapered than the previous one, just to further define my crease, because she had that area very, very defined with eyeshadow. And I'm not really creating a V on the outer corner, I'm just sort of concentrating on my crease. Then for below my brow, I'm taking the sort of beigey vanilla color in the same eyeshadow quad of the Sophisticate, and I'm applying this just below my brow and then just blending everything out with the E100 brush once again. And then to clean up the sides, I'm using the same shadow, and I'm just sort of taking it around the corners of my eye just to kind of clean this area up a little bit. For eyeliner, I'm using the Double Wear Estee Lauder Gel Liner, and I'm just creating a very, very thin line with an angled brush, flicking out slightly on the outer edge, but mostly just keeping it very, very thin and natural. And then to make this a little bit darker, I'm using the Maybelline Master Precise Liquid Liner. And then with the same angled brush, I'm just going over the line again just to smoke it out a little bit and for it to look very natural. And then taking the same brush, I'm going to use the same dark shadow we used before on the crease line, and I'm using this to define my lower lash line, creating a very, very thin line, massaging the color really well into my eyelashes so that it looks very natural. Then moving on to lips, I'm going to use my MAC lip liner in the color Soar, and I'm just going to use this to define my lips and just shade it in a little bit at the corners to make them look a little bit fuller. And then for color, I'm going to use my Chanel Rouge Allure lipstick in the color Passion, and I'm just going to apply this all over my lips, making sure I define the corners well and go over the border of my lips with a lip brush. The colour with this lipstick turned out to be a little bit more pink than red, so I'm then going over with this Charlotte Tilbury Lip Lacquer and Red Vixen just to make the colour a bit more of a cherry red, which was what Natalie had on her Dior campaign. I'm using this all over my lips and just applying it with the wand. Natalie's lip colour was really matte, and because I've applied a gloss on top, I'm going to take a tissue and then I'm going to go over it with a little bit of loose powder just to make the colour go matte again. And then I'm going to fill in my brows using MAC Lingering Brow Pencil, and I'm just going to make them look quite straight and quite full, just because that's sort of the shape that Natalie has. So I'm trying to kind of make them look very, very straight and not really defining the angle. Lingering was a little bit too light for me, so I'm going in with a mix of these two shades that are marked in the eyeshadow quad of Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm using an angled brush just to go over the sort of center area of my brow to make it a little bit darker. And then I'm going with a clear brow gel just to set in the hair. I'm then just going to curl my lashes with this eyelash curler. This one's by Kevyn Aucoin actually, and it's really good. And then I'm just going to go in with 2 coats of the Maybelline Falsies Push Up Drama Mascara. I'm going to use 2 coats on my top lashes and 2 coats on my bottom lashes. And then I'm going to go straight in with a contour powder, and I'm using the Radial Contour, and I'm just using this over the areas where I previously applied the cream contour. And I'm using this one because it's super finely milled, very natural looking. It's quite cool toned, and it's just going to give my features a bit more of an angular look. I'm also using the same powder to just contour my nose, and I'm just going over the same area where I previously contoured with the cream contour, and I'm using the same fluffy E100 Sigma brush. For blush, I'm using a mix of the 2 shades in the Charlotte Tilbury palette. It's quite a neutral, slightly pinky shade, but very neutral. And I'm using this with a big fluffy brush because I want a very natural look. And then I'm using the same highlighter, which is very subtle on this palette. And I'm just using this on the high points of my cheekbones, along my nose, cupid's bow, my chin, and a little bit on my forehead above my brows, but a very subtle look because Natalie, as I said, was looking very natural. I'm then going in with this pencil brush, and I'm using the same dark brown shadow that I used earlier on my crease just to intensify this line a bit more because it was super defined for Natalie. So I'm just going in with this and defining it a bit more, just trying to blend it out using the same pencil. And then I'm going to go in with the number 7 pencil just to finish blending this out so that there's no kind of a harsh line there. And that's it from me, guys. This is the final look. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's the perfect kind of Hollywood glam classic look. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.